The entire world is now your virtual film set. VO3 dropped some brand new features, and a filmmaker made cinematic history this last week when they dropped the very first SAG-approved AI film. Welcome to your AI film news of the week. Okay, guys, I'm really excited for this week's episode because it has some of the more hilarious examples of AI films that I've seen up to this point, along with a ton of really great updates. Let's get to it. The first thing that I want to talk about this week is an interesting AI filmmaking workflow that we saw over on X. A filmmaker named Chakai put together a really interesting demo where they took images from Google Street View, combined them with runway references, and basically allowed them to create an entire story where they were able to transport a character and have them walk down a street and into a shop, and they never even stepped foot in the location. The thing that makes this really interesting is the person that put this together is the co-creator of Google Earth. So essentially, they took a tool that they developed years ago and integrated it with AI technology, and they actually are now a filmmaker, which is pretty cool. They put together a really interesting breakdown over on X, but I thought it'd be fun to show you the exact workflow in this video. So let's get started. So first things first, I'm going to go over to the Google Street View website. We'll click on Go to Street View. And let's say that we're working on a film project and we decided for whatever reason it should take place on Rodeo Drive. Well, all you have to do in Google Street View is grab the little guy and we'll just drop him into the street. You have, of course, done this before. And the cool thing is you have the ability to, walk around the street. We'll go over here, maybe find the right angle. And let's say that we want this orientation here of the Beverly Hilton Hotel, which was the setting of Pretty Woman. Let's say that I want to relive the Pretty Woman experience and have a dream vacation at this hotel, which has to be fiction here because this hotel is like $900 a night. So all you have to do is take a screenshot from Google Earth. I'll go ahead and grab a screenshot here just like this. And there you go. And you can have that for multiple locations. And you can even do a shot reverse shot, which is pretty interesting, where you have one person who's, let's say they're oriented in this part of the frame, and then the camera moves to the right, and then you have another person here. It's pretty cool because it basically allows you to take the entire world and turn it into a film set. Now I'm going to take an image of me wearing this denim jacket and we will bring it into the video. And let's say that we're just working on a project that should take place in different scenes inside of the hotel. Basically, I just took images of the hotel here. So we have a hotel room and we have the pool. And let's say that we want to composite me into this environment. So next up, we need to create the imagery for this project, and I'm going to use runway frames to make it happen. So all you have to do is go over to the runway website, and we will go to image. And let's go ahead and bring in our images. So we have the 360 photo of the environment here. All you have to do is drag and drop it into runway. We also have a picture of me here, and I'll go ahead and drag that into the scene. You also can bring in an additional image if you wanted multiple characters or the character holding an object. It's completely up to you, but I'm just going to keep this basic for now. And I'll call the hotel Beverly Hilton, and we'll call the character, we'll call it Caleb W. Okay, cool. So now let's type in our prompt, and I will say at Caleb W walking down the street outside of at Beverly Hilton. So keeping it pretty basic. Obviously we can get into more detail if we wanted to, adjust the environment at all, or if we wanted certain characters to be in the scene. We're just going to keep it really, really basic for now and go ahead and click generate. Okay, let's take a look at a few of the images here, and you can see it did a pretty good job. That's definitely me in front of this environment. Now, are there changes to the environment? Yes, there are. Like the sign here says Fitivastar, which I'm pretty sure that is not the name of that street. I may be wrong. You have a few other images here. This one here, not too bad. Again, not too bad. So as you can see, you can put the character inside of the environment very, very easily. And let's just ignore the fact that this is a red light in the middle of this light and a green light down here. It's really throwing some mixed messaging here. So let's say that we want to use this image for our video. The cool thing is inside of Runway, all you have to do is click use and you will import the image into the video model, which you can see up here. And now you can type in a prompt. And for our prompt, I'll say light camera shake, colon. I always like defining what the camera movement or details are first, and then a smiling man walking past the camera, flags waving in the background. So basically he just kind of walks out of the frame, and go ahead and click generate. So while we wait on that to render, I do want to note that you can download these images and just animate them in other AI video tools. So you could take this inside of Google Veo, Kling, Luma, it doesn't really matter. Some of those other tools are better for physical dynamics, especially if you're using Google Veo or Kling. The kind of overall realism and naturalism of the model is just much better in those tools. But Runway is great because they have an unlimited plan, so you can just run the generations again and again, and it doesn't count against your credits. Okay, let's take a look at our video here. Okay, not that bad. And you can see he's just walking down the street here. It's kind of morphing on the hands, but all in all, I think it's doing a pretty good job. Obviously, the face does begin to break down there, so you may want to use a different tool to either stabilize the face or animate the actual video itself. And I should note that some of our prompting did not come through in the generation, so you might have to run the prompt a few times to get exactly what you're looking for. Now, I went in and created a few other images here. So we have this image of me in the hotel room and me at the pool. You can see it did a pretty good job. And then here are the video generations, just looking around the room, walking around, not too bad. And then we have the shot of me at the pool, or should I say, I think standing on the water, like walking on the water. So miracle happened at the Beverly Hilton. And you can see the face really begins to break down here. I have no idea what's happening with his eye there. So just one thing to note if you're generating video directly inside of Runway. So I think workflows like this are really important for filmmakers because one of the bigger challenges we have is continuity, not only with the characters and objects, but also with the location. Having the ability to control the background and do all of your cinematic coverage is really important, and I think that this workflow is very impressive. And I should note that if you're ever working on a film or advertising project, be sure to take a scan or a 360 image of the actual set, because you now have the ability to do insert shots inside of post-production. So if you need to reshoot anything, I highly recommend using this workflow to help fill in the gaps before you actually go on location and do the actual reshoots. Unless you've been living under a rock this last week, then you probably heard about Google Veo 3. Long story short, it is the next evolution in AI video, and everybody has been completely amazed by the generations that we get from the tool. Now, obviously, last week it was only text to video and the results were really impressive, but if you really want to have consistency inside of your videos, you need to have the ability to have more control over the generations. That's where image to video really shines, but Google Veo last week did not allow you to upload your own images to animate. But that has all changed. You now have the ability to upload images and get your videos animated directly inside of their new platform called Google Flow. Let me show you how to use it. To use the tool, all you have to do is go to the Google Flow website, go ahead and click on the menu and select Frames to Video. In the bottom, you'll see a plus icon. You can hit that little plus icon and go to Upload. And we'll use this image of this woman who is in a sci-fi film and go ahead and click Open. And you will have to hit Crop and Save no matter what. I'm not entirely sure why, you just have to hit it. And for our prompt, we'll say a handheld shot of a woman looking concerned. She closes her eyes with a furrowed brow, and we will make sure that we're using Google Veo 3. Remember, by default, it's going to use Google Veo 2, which is not ideal if you're looking for maximum quality. So we'll make sure we're in Google Veo 3 mode and go ahead and click Generate. Okay, so let's take a look at the video here. So I do want to note that if you download it in the native format, which is 720p, you'll get the audio, sound effects, and the voices. But if you upres it to 1080p, it will actually remove the audio. So you may need to download the 720 version separately if you want the audio and then upres it using 1080p. I always recommend using Topaz Video AI to upres anyways, so it's totally up to you. Okay, not too bad. You can see she looks concerned. She closes her eyes. Obviously, we didn't really want her to say anything, and she kind of opened her mouth. So it's kind of going a little off script there. But I think if you cut off the first part of that video, it's kind of exactly what we were looking for. Now, I wanted to compare that to Runway Gen 4, and it created this shot here, which is actually pretty darn expressive for Runway. I still think that I like VO a little bit more, but honestly, the expression from Runway in this specific test was actually pretty close to Google VO. So I have a few other examples that I want to show you here. So I have this image of this like film noir shot, and I want the guy to pull up a gun, you know, kind of pull it on the bad guy. And here's the result from Google VO. Okay, I feel like he's not really pointing it in the direction that I'm looking for, but it did technically do the prompt that we asked for, and it had the sound effects, which is pretty cool. Now, here's the same result inside of Runway, and he got me. That was actually pretty good. I like the misdirection there with him going for his pocket and pulling out the gun in the other hand. It's like a magic trick. It looks pretty darn good. And the other magic trick that we're going to have to figure out is how to remove a finger, because he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fingers. So the 6-finger mafia strikes again. And then finally, we have this medium shot of a scientist here. And I prompted for basically a UI of a world to pop up on screen. And here's the result from Google VO. And I actually think it did a pretty good job. Obviously, the compositing maybe needs a little bit of work, but I think for an AI video generation, it's not that bad. And here's the same result from Runway. And you can see it tries to pop up a globe, but it doesn't look that realistic. So I definitely think that Google VO did a much better job in this shot. In addition to allowing you to upload your own image and animating that image, you also have the ability to upload different assets in their ingredients feature and basically create a shot that blends all of those assets together. It's pretty cool. Let me show you how to use it. All you have to do is go to that menu again and select Ingredients to Video. And you'll see we have 3 little plus marks that pop up here. We'll click the first one, and basically I have 3 different images here, one of this bar, one of this character, and another of this character. Let's say we're working on a film. It takes place in Bali, and it's basically a coming-of-age story, right? So let's go ahead. We'll bring all 3 of those images inside of Google VO. And we'll keep it really basic. We'll say a man and a woman standing together in a moody bar at night. I do want to note that when you're working with ingredients, you actually only have the ability to use Google VO2. Now, you'll still get great results with VO2, but it is just worth noting. And go ahead and click Generate. So here's our result from VO2. And I don't know why it made these people look even younger. So I think those kids are maybe getting kicked out of a bar here. But technically, it did include both of those characters in that environment. I also didn't want them walking away. I don't really know why they're walking away, but it did generate those characters in the environment. Now, to compare that to Runway references, Runway gave us this image here, and they look much closer to the original characters. And it created this video here of them just kind of bored, hanging out at this bar, but you know, it did pretty good. I like the physics on her earring. There's not a lot of life to the characters, but not a bad job. I think having more control over your generations inside of incredible platforms like Google Flow is just really great because it allows you to control the actual outputs that you're looking for, and it takes a lot of the guesswork out of the prompting experience. And speaking of experiences, something really incredible happened this last week. So as you may know, Kevin Cardoza, who goes by Kevin the Kid online, teaches our advanced AI filmmaking workshop at Curious Refuge. Well, in the early days of putting that course together, Kevin had the idea to put together a film showcasing what is possible utilizing AI technology. So he's been working on this film since January, but the thing that makes this really unique is the fact that he worked with SAG actors to shoot the actors and basically take those performances and put them inside of the AI video. So the film is 25 minutes long and one of the most impressive examples of AI filmmaking that I have ever seen. It's very clear that Kevin's a crazy experienced filmmaker whenever you watch the project. This project was produced by Arcana in partnership with Phantom X, and the cast also included Brecken Meyer, who has worked on some incredible projects. We'll put a link below this video so you can check the project out for yourself. And I should also note that he did not use Google VO3 for this project. He's just an amazing storyteller that understands a lot of the technical aspects of AI filmmaking. In AI video generation news, Kling said, "Hold my beer," and decided to announce Kling 2.1 this last week. Now, the model should drop any time now, but we've seen some pretty interesting examples from a few of the beta testers. For example, we have the shot here from Uncanny Harry where he prompted in a concerned man looking down, shakes his head, runs his hands through his hair, and then looks up back at the woman, then kisses passionately. And you can see it took in all of that direction, and he was able to upload his own image to create the video. We also have this side-by-side comparison from Alex Petrashu, who basically compared Google VO3 with Kling 2.1, and the sound effects are from Google VO3, and you can see that in many ways the shots are pretty similar. So we have this shot here, and maybe a more dynamic movement from Google VO3, but honestly, Kling 2.1 looks really good as well. We have the shot here of these friends and they throw snow in the air, and Google VO3 did a good job, but Kling 2.1, I don't know what's happening there. The friends, it looks like smoke is coming from their hands. This shot here, it looks like Kling is creating some weird beams inside of the room, whereas Google VO3 looks good. The dancing inside of this scene looks really good from VO3. So as you can see, most of the shots look better inside of Google VO3, but Kling 2.1 is honestly a good alternative. We heard that Kling 2.1 will be in 1080p, and if our sources are correct, it will be about $1.60 per generation, which makes it about half the price of Google VO. And I came across this really funny example from Amira Zahari where basically they tried to prompt somebody knocking on a door inside of Kling 2.1, and it would just not do it. Like no matter what, their hand would just get close to the door, like they're pre-programmed not to knock on the door. It's really funny. Now, stepping back and looking at the industry as a whole, there was some really big news this last week from the Anthropic team. They actually announced that Reed Hastings, who is the co-founder of Netflix, is joining their board. So Reed specifically said that he's going to be working on safety and social challenges as we move into this AI era. But it's interesting because I think it might hint that Anthropic might be getting into the AI video space in the near future. Reed obviously has a background with disrupting industries, and Anthropic is currently valued at $60 billion. Now, there are a lot of AI filmmaking meetups happening around the world. Here's a few that you need to know about. First, we have the Curious Refuge Palm Beach meetup happening on June 5th. We have the second annual AI Music and Video Festival ending this Saturday on the 31st of May. The Reply AI Film Festival is cutting off submissions on June 1st, and the AI Collective is hosting a screening, discussion, and networking session in Tempe, Arizona on June 11th, along with the AI Film Festival from Runway, which starts on June 5th in New York and is in Los Angeles the very next week. I should also note that enrollment for our AI courses are now open at Curious Refuge. That includes AI filmmaking, advanced AI film, AI doc, advertising, and animation. If you want to learn alongside creative professionals in the industry and at major studios, we would love to have you inside of the program. And that brings us to our AI films of the week. Now, the first project that I want to shout out is called Mustard by the team at AI or Die. It's completely unhinged. I haven't laughed this hard in a long time. It's basically the team prompting inside of Google VO to do a lot of strange things. I highly recommend checking it out. The next project that I want to shout out is a documentary parody from Dale Williams, who goes by The Real Robot online. It's a really funny project that talks about old game shows that never happened. I highly recommend checking it out. And then finally, we have what I think is the funniest AI project I have ever seen from Metapuppet, who is an artist at Promise, which is our larger company. I don't want to give things away, but the pacing and the way in which it gets completely unhinged towards the end is really amazing, and you have to watch it. And then in our final news of the week, we came across a story this last week that's giving us some major Spider-Man vibes. So basically, some scientists are working with AI to genetically modify cannibalistic spiders to where they will basically be born with no eyes, but they can glow in the dark, and their webs basically become more indestructible so people can use them in military applications. Long story short, this is definitely a film waiting to happen, so you might have to put that in your back pocket for our AI horror film competition, which will happen a little closer to Halloween. And then finally, thank you to everyone in the comments for wishing us well. Shelby and I will actually be having our very first baby any day now, so you probably won't see me over the next few weeks, but we have some incredible tutorial artists hopping here on the channel that will show you the latest AI techniques. Thank you so much for watching this episode of AI Film News. Of course, as always, you can like and subscribe here on the platform to get AI Film News directly here on YouTube. And you can, of course, subscribe over on our website to get AI Film News sent directly to your inbox. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.